Hello everyone, this is Gamer, and welcome back to the 39 Steps. Sorry, that was awkward. Let's continue. Third-class citizen, wanted by the police for murder and by the real killers for knowing too much. Hannay must flee London. Sunday, 24th May of 1914, Wimpole Street, London. Huh.
God, blimey!
Come in here a moment. I want a word with you.
Yes, sir?
He was a young man about my own height, with an ill-nourished mustache, and wearing a flat blue cap and white overalls.
I reckon you're a bit of a sportsman, and I want you to do me a service. Lend me your cap and overall for 10 minutes, and here's a sovereign for you.
His eyes opened at the sight of the gold. He grinned broadly.
What's the game?
A bet. I haven't time to explain, but to win it, I've got to be a milkman for the next 10 minutes, and all you've got to do is to stay here till I come back. You'll be a bit late, but nobody will complain, and you'll have that quid for yourself.
Right. I ain't the man to spoil a bit of sport. Here's the rig, governor.
Wearing his hat and overalls, I went whistling downstairs. At first, I thought there was nobody in the street. Then I caught sight of a policeman 100 yards down and a loafer shuffling past on the other side. I crossed the street in character, whistling gaily and imitating the jaunty swing of the milkman. Some impulse made me raise my eyes to the house opposite, and there at a first floor window was a face. As the loafer passed, he looked up, and I fancy a signal was exchanged. Excuse me. Then I took the first side street. There was no one in the alleyway, so I dropped the milk cans inside the hoarding and sent the cap and overall after them. I had only just put on my cloth cap when a postman came round the corner. I gave him good morning. He answered me unsuspiciously. Then I took to my heels and ran. Well, I'm running. Wow, I ran that far away. Wow, that guy's athletic. I had no time to take a ticket. A porter told me the platform. I saw the train already in motion. 2 station officials blocked the way. I dodged them and clambered into the last carriage. I had made it. Good. 3 minutes later, an irate guard interviewed me. He wrote out for me a ticket to Newton Stewart, a name which had suddenly come back to my memory. Excuse me. had a burp. Then he conducted me from the first-class compartment to a third-class smoker. The compartment was occupied by a sailor and a stout woman with a child. Newspaper. Okay. Show text. Empire Day celebrations. Yesterday's parade in Hyde Park. The annual Empire Day Parade in Hyde Park took place yesterday afternoon. Rain prevented the attendance of Lord Roberts, who had promised to take the salute, but in his place, the Earl of Meath received the salute from over 6,000 men and boys. The parade, which was under the patronage of Prince Alexander of Teck and Princess Alexander of Teck, was commanded by Lieutenant General Sir Henry H. Settle. Are these the same thing? Yeah, looks about the same. Okay. I'll see a second item of use. Oh, put up the chair.
It's a sail job catching trains.
Aye, the impudence of that geared. He needed a Scotch tongue to put him in his place. He was complaining in this way and no haeing a ticket and her no fiver till August 12 month. And he was objecting to this gentleman spitting.
Alright, I think we got everything we need. I had a solemn time traveling north that day. Alright, where am I going? I left London, so where am I going? Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, Greenore, Dublin? I asked myself why, when I was still a free man, had I stayed on in London and not got the good of this heavenly country? Excuse me. Stupid allergies. Then I got out Scuttle's little pocketbook and studied it. Okay. Alright. Okay. Oh, come on, really? There you go. Let's look at Scudder's pocketbook. The keyword. I tried for hours, but none of the words answered. The writings. I was certain that Scudder never did anything without a reason, and I was pretty sure there was a cipher in all of this. Information collected. What's this say? It's May or January to May 1914. Signed by Scuttle, and these look like Roman numerals. See, like X equals 10. Those lines equals 1. I forgot what L and D were worth. V is 5. I know for sure. So I only know my 1s, 5, 10s. I forgot what D was, and I forgot what L was. It's been a long time since I've done Roman numerals. Alright, the cipher. I have a head for things like chess and puzzles, and I used to reckon myself pretty good at finding out ciphers. These sets of figures look like they correspond to letters of the alphabet. Oh, well, when you say it that way, that is true too. Oh, Edinburgh, Glasgow. This looks pretty. Where am I at? I woke up at Dumfries just in time to bundle out onto the crowded platform. There was a young man on the platform whose looks I didn't like. but he never glanced at me. I caught sight of myself in the mirror of an automatic machine, with my brown face, my old tweeds, and my slouch. I was the very model of one of the hill farmers who were now crowding into the third-class carriages. I boarded the Galloway train, traveling with half a dozen in an atmosphere of shag and clay pipes. They had come from the weekly market, and their mouths were full of prices. Local train. Passengers. Above half the men had lunched heavily and were heavily flavored with whiskey, but they took no notice of me. So they're probably drunk. Conversation. I heard accounts of how the lambing had gone up the cairn and the deuce. Is that deuce or Deutsch or Dutch? No, it's not Dutch. It's like Deutsch. Judy Dench. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Deutsch. And a dozen other mysterious waters. That's it, right? Yeah. About 5 o'clock, the carriage had emptied, and I was left alone as I had hoped. I got out at the next station. It reminded me of one of those forgotten little stations in the Karoo. An old station master, with his spade over his shoulder, sauntered to the train, took charge of a parcel, and went back to his potatoes. While a child of 10 received my ticket. Oh, so I'm here. Okay. Well, I have no choice but to take the path. Onwards. I am loving this landscape here. It's so pretty. Alright, onwards. Ooh, I love that waterfall right there. I was getting very hungry when I eventually came to a herd's cottage. I read that. A brown-faced woman greeted me with the kindly shyness of moorland places. A brown-faced woman? So an African-American woman? When I asked for a night's lodging, she said I was welcome to the bed in the loft. And very soon she set before me a hearty meal of ham and eggs, scones, and thick sweet milk. At the darkening, her man came in from the hills, a lean giant who in one step covered as much ground as 3 paces of ordinary mortals. They asked me no questions, for they had the perfect breeding of all dwellers in the wilds, but I could see they set me down as a kind of dealer. I took some trouble to confirm their view. They refused any payment, and by 6 the next morning I had breakfasted and was striding southwards again. That's a nice little waterfall right there. All the slackness of the past months was slipping from my bones, and I stepped out like a 4-year-old. My notion was to return to the railway line a station or two farther on than the place where I had alighted yesterday, and to double back. That's a nice view of the train station over there. I waited till I saw the smoke of an east-going train on the horizon. Was that smoke the signal? Then I approached the booking office and took a ticket for Dumfries steam train. That was cool. Sanctuary of the Inn. With a considerable distance between himself and his pursuers, Hannay makes his next move. Oh, it's only been 15 minutes? Let's do one more. Yeah, let's do one more and see what happens. Sanctuary of the Inn. Sunday, 24th May 1914, Galloway, Scotland. Ooh, we're in Scotland now. Cool. The occupants of the carriage were an old shepherd and his dog, a wall-eyed brute I mistrusted. The man was asleep, and on the cushions beside him was that mourning Scotsman. Oh, the newspaper.
God.
Huh? Why do you freak out when I turn the other page? Hold on. The Scotsman, 25th May, 1914. Why do you freak out?
God.
Empire Day murder shocks London. Oh. Empire Day murder shocks London. Scotland Yard's top officers have been called into action following the brutal slaying of a decorated British officer in an affluent apartment block in London near Portland Place. The killing took place during last week's Empire Day celebrations. Oh no. The as yet unarmed man was discovered in the first floor flat on Sunday morning by its valet, Mr. Paddock. Intriguingly, the victim was not in charge of the apartment, and the owner was not to be found. Even more intriguing is the arrest of a local milkman found whistling in the hallway of the apartment, a mere 5 minutes away from Oxford Street. Mr. Paddock sprang the alarm and had the young man arrested. Scotland Yard Commissioner Mr. McGillivray said his top officers were currently interviewing the suspect. This is one of the most horrendous murders we have had in this part of London for some time. The fact that it happened on Empire Day just makes the whole affair even more abhorrent. We will make sure that no stone is left unturned in bringing the killer to justice. Mr. Paddock had informed the police that the dead man's name was Sir Captain Digby of the 40th Gurkhas, and he had been at the apartment for 4 days. As yet, Scotland Yard has been unable to confirm the identity. The details of the murder are also sparse. This is the second dead body to have been found in this very apartment block in the past week. Just 6 days earlier, an American businessman identified as a Mr. Christopher Rick was found in his apartment having committed suicide. Neighbor Mrs. Twiston said, "There is a respectable part of the city safe behind closed doors, at least until now. I'm all shook up. I've canceled my milk order." McGillivray assured residents that there is nothing to be concerned about, and that there are no apparent connections between the deaths, and that the latest killing is most likely the result of a financial dispute. Oh man. Ooh. Missing airman, feared disaster to Mr. Hamill. Mr. Gustav Hamill, the well-known aviator whose intention to attempt the transatlantic flight was announced last week, was expected in London on Saturday morning in order to take part in the aerial derby competition arranged for the afternoon. He was known to have started from the aerodrome at Villacoblet at 4:30 in the morning, but he failed to put in an appearance on the English side of the channel, and as the day wore on without bringing any definite news of him, considerable anxiety on his account gradually made itself felt. Inquiries made in all directions proved fruitless, and yesterday anxiety deepened into serious alarm. suffragist outages, King's portrait slashed with an axe, the destruction of exhibition pictures, which has been recently a feature of the militant suffragist activity in London, was adopted in Edinburgh for the first time on Saturday, when a half-length portrait of King George from the brush of Mr. John Lavery, along with a picture of the Queen, of the Royal Scottish Academy, was damaged by a woman who slashed it with an axe. In view of similar outrages of late, special precautions have been taken at the Academy with the object of frustrating any attempts to destroy the paintings. But when the woman entered the building about noon, no suspicion at first arose, though it was remarked afterwards that she had not, as is usually done by lady visitors, given an umbrella or article of attire in the keeping of the attendant. Portland Place killer on the run. Traveling north. New twists and turns in the case of the Portland Place murder as Scotland Yard releases its prime suspect and reveals that the true criminal has escaped the capital. Scotland Yard Commissioner Mr. McGillivray said, "We have reason to believe the killer has left London by one of the northern lines. We no longer have reason to suspect that the milkman is our murderer or has any connection with the killing of Captain Phyllis Digby, found dead earlier this week. Captain Digby is reported to have been on home leave and staying with a friend in an apartment near London's affluent Portland Place apartments. Chief Investigating Officer Mr. Sky Fay told the Times, "This was a brutal slaying of an honorable man. We urge anyone who may have seen or heard anything on the night of the 23rd of May to come forward and make yourself known. The owner of the apartment in question, a Mr. Richard Hannay, is still missing." Oh no. They're after me now.
God.
Yeah, alright. That's one. I can smell the alcohol on his breath. Good boy. Good boy. That's everything. We were approaching the station at which I had got out yesterday. Huh. The potato digging station master has been gingered up into some activity, for the west-going train was waiting to let us pass. From it descended three men who were asking him questions. Police? Sitting well back in the shadow, I watched them carefully. View from a train. The moors. All the party looked out across the moor where the white road departed. I hoped they were going to take up my tracks there. Three men. I suppose that they were the local police, who had been stirred up by Scotland Yard and had traced me as far as this one horse sighting. One of them had a book and took down notes. Station staff. The old potato digger seemed to have turned peevish. The child who had collected my ticket was talking volubly. Oh no, they're after me now. Even though I didn't do the murder. As we moved away from that station, the old shepherd began to stir. Sir. Good boy.
Quiet, you Where am I? Oh, where am I?
You're on a train, travelling east towards Dumfries, in Scotland.
Oh, that's what comes of being a teetotaler.
I think he's drunk. I expressed my surprise that in him I should have met a blue ribbon stalwart.
Oh, I'm a strong teetotaler. Aye, I took the pledge last Martinmas and I haven't touched a drop of whiskey since then. Not even a hug my knee. Though I was sair tempted. Oh, that's what I get. I heed better than hellfire and twine looking different ways for the Sabbath.
What did it?
Here, a drink they call brandy. Now, being a teetotal, I keep it half the whiskey, but I was nip naughty at this brandy, and I doubt I'll no be wheel for a fortnight.
Yeah, that guy's drunk. That guy's so drunk. My plan had been to get out at some station down the line, but the train suddenly gave me a better chance. I looked out and saw that every carriage window was closed and no human figure appeared in the landscape. So I dropped quickly from the carriage. Oh, a quick escape. It would have been alright but for that infernal dog. Stupid dog.
Where am I? Oh, where am I? He's jumped. He's jumped to his death.
I could not have made a more public departure if I had left with a burglar and a brass band. Happily, the drunken shepherd provided a diversion. He and his dog, which was attached by a rope to his waist, suddenly cascaded out of the carriage.
Quickly, that man needs help.
That blasted dog just bit me.
They had forgotten me. I looked back, and there was nothing in the landscape. For the first time, I felt the terror of the hunted on me. It was not the police that I had thought of, but the other folk who knew that I knew Scudder's secret and dared not let me live. I was certain that they would pursue me with a keenness and vigilance unknown to the British law, and that once their grip closed on me, I should find no mercy. Wow, did I really run this far? Man, this guy's got stamina. The mood did not leave me until I had reached the rim of mountain and flung myself panting on a ridge high above the young waters of the river. I have eyes like a hawk, but I can see nothing moving in the whole countryside. Then I looked into the blue May sky, and there I saw that which set my pulses racing. I was as certain as if I had been told that aeroplane was looking for me, and that it did not belong to the police. Dang. These guys know how to cover their area. Jesus. These heathered hills were no sort of cover if my enemies were in the sky, and I must find a different kind of sanctuary. I kept onwards. About 6 in the evening, I came out of the moorland. There's a house over there. Ooh, this looks nice. Peat smoke and savory roast floated from the house.
As when a griffin
As when a griffin through the wilderness with winged step. As when a griffin through the wilderness with winged step o'er hill and moory dale pursues the Arimaspian.
Alrighty then.
Good evening to you. It's a fine night for the road.
Is that place an inn?
At your service. I'm the landlord, sir. And I hope you will stay the night, for, to tell you the truth, I've had no company for a week.
I pulled myself up on the parapet of the bridge and filled my pipe. I began to detect an ally.
You're young to be an innkeeper?
My father died a year ago and left me the business. I lived there with my grandmother. It's a slow job for a young man, and it wasn't my choice of profession.
Which was?
He actually blushed. Why are you blushing? I'm just asking you a question.
I want to write books.
And what better chance could you ask? Man, I've often thought that an innkeeper would make the best storyteller in the world.
Oh, not now. Maybe in the old days when you had pilgrims and ballad makers and highwaymen and mail coaches on the road. But not now. Nothing comes here but motor cars full of fat women who stop for lunch and a fisherman or two in the spring and the shooting tenants in August. There's not much material to be got out of that. I want to see life, to travel the world and write things like Kipling and Conrad. But the most I've done yet is to get some verses printed in Chambers' journal.
I looked at the inn standing golden in the sunset against the brown hills.
I've knocked a bit about the world, and I wouldn't despise such a hermitage. Do you think that adventure is only found in the tropics or among gentry in red shirts? Maybe you're rubbing shoulders with it at this moment.
That's what Kipling says. Brother romance, and all unseen bromance brought up the 915.
Yes. But here's a true tale for you then. And a month from now, you can make a novel out of it.
A story of epic proportions. Okay, you guys can read that. Uh-huh. Ah, good old silent films. Don't forget your hat. Oh, he left his hat. Is this, like, predicting the rest of this game now? I don't know. It's weird. And there goes his hat again. My hat!
You're looking for adventure? Well, you've found it here. The devils are after me and the police are after them. It's a race that I mean to win.
By God! It's all pure Rider Haggard of Conan Doyle.
You believe me?
Of course I do. I believe everything out of the common. The only thing to distrust is the normal.
He was very young, but he was the man for my money.
I think they're off my track for the moment, but I must lie close for a couple of days. Can you take me in?
He caught my elbow in his eagerness and drew me towards the house. As I entered the inn porch, I heard from far off the beat of an engine. Wow, that's a pretty shot right there. That's real pretty. That shot deserves like 5 wins on my win for video games. That was a beautiful, beautiful screenshot. I mean, not screenshot, beautiful scene right there. That was cool. I like the colors of it. Anywho, he gave me a room at the back of the house with a fine outlook over the plateau. I smoked in a chair till daylight, for I could not sleep. The next morning, I wanted some time to myself, so I invented a job for him. He had a motorcycle, and I sent him off the next morning for the daily paper, which usually arrived with the post in the late afternoon. I told him to keep his eyes skinned and make note of any strange figures he saw, keeping a special sharp look out for motors and aeroplanes. Then I sat down in real earnest to Scudder's notebook. Three things. Okay, one. Okay, that are 1, 2, 3. All right, let's read. Portland Place murderer in Scotland. London police have reason to believe that the Portland Place murderer has traveled north into Scotland in his bid to escape the authorities. It has also come to light that the milkman has provided damning evidence against the flat's owner, Mr. Richard Hannay, in connection to the murder of Captain Theophilus Digby. Oh no. He told me that he was playing a game, said the milkman he needed to be a milkman for half an hour, and I believed him, but he never came back. He took my hat and coat too. The thief! The milkman's uniform has since been discovered behind a hoarding in an alleyway opposite Mr. Hannay's apartment. Darn it. Fear not. If there is a killer in Scotland, we will track him down, said Lothian and Borders Police Chief Mr. Hamish Smith. We will be putting extra resources into this manhunt. Should anyone spot Mr. Hannay, a 37-year-old man of average height and build, they should not try and apprehend him. Hannay is known to be a military man with considerable skills with weaponry. No, I'm not. I'm just a regular man. The Albanen revolt. Rebels release prisoners. The insurgents have released all the prisoners. Prince William, huh? Huh. Yesterday rode out to the outpost. Everything is quiet. Everything is now quiet here. Carloids, the Greek premier. The state of the Balkans have become the most vexing issue on the international stage. Various failures to resolve the Eastern question over preceding decades have left Europe facing renewed crisis after crisis. Amidst this maelstrom, Greek Prime Minister Constantine Karolides is regarded as the key establishing force in a region beset by regime changes, rebellion, and intractable territorial claims. Okay, I think that's it for the newspaper. All right, that's one down. Let's move on to the second one. Anything here? Innkeeper's study cupboard. Wow, he's got a lot of documents. And last but not least, the table. 3 more things for the table, huh? Okay, I see 1, 2. Oh boy. I can read cursive. Let's see. The hills of home. I was born in the hand of Scotland when the heather was turning to brown. Or, no, wait, that says weather. When the weather was turning to brown, I grew in the hills of Scotland, then wanted to leave my town. I'm born in the land of Scotland. Please take me away. These desolate plains of Scotland are not what I wish to stay. There you go. Now you get to read this in English. In fine print. Alright, backside. Chapter 1. What the innkeeper saw. Yeah, I'm just gonna go to text. Donald woke to the sound of hammering. Thump. The hammer did strike. Thump. The hammer pierced his brain. Again. And again. The beam above his head creaked as the wind whistled round the small cottage. He heard his grandmother moving about in the next room. His father would be at the river already, checking to see if the eggs had hatched. That's it? Okay. Ooh. Oh, okay. That's just the thing I'm reading. Okay. Information collected January to May 1914. Franklin P. Scudder. These look like Roman numerals. Okay, the last thing says 3-5. Oh. Oh, that's the same thing. Did I read this? Yes, it did. Oh, here's the last thing. Chambers Journal. Dear Mr. Fraser. Fraser. Thank you for sending us your latest poem, A Frozen Heart in Summer Days. We would be delighted to publish your poem in the January issue of next year. We will return the manuscript once it has been copied by recorded post. Sincerely yours, Edward Lethan, Editor, Chambers Journal. A Frozen Heart in Summer Days. Last winter our chests were warm, as homely fires burnt till dawn. The inn was full with passing trade, a perfect home for travelers bade. The spring was pleasant, and new life did spring. We cooked up peasant that my father brought in, but things did change as the sun arrived. But things did change as my father died. Ooh, those two poem lines right there are deep. Jeez. The place came empty, my thoughts then lost. The passing of life is the eternal cost. Wow, that's pretty good. I like that one. These last 4 lines on the first page, I love it. That's awesome. They were good. Now this summer our chests are cold. This inn no longer the place of old. My heart is frozen like the eternal look on my father's face as his life was took. Oh, that's good. That's good. But that's good poetry, man. Even though it sounds sad and dark, that's actually real good. But life goes on. I take over the business as my father's son. My dreams will hold, though never gone. My words have meaning, my father's son. That was pretty cool. That was cool. Yeah, I'm done. I glanced out of the window. There seemed to be 2 of them, men in aquascutums and tweed caps. One was slim, the other was sleek. That was the most I could make of my reconnaissance. 10 minutes later, the innkeeper slipped into the room, his eyes bright with excitement.
There's two chaps below looking for you. They're in the dining room having whiskies and sodas. They asked about you and said they'd hoped to meet you here. Oh, and they described you jolly well, down to your boots and shirt. I told them you'd been here last night and gone off on a motor bicycle this morning. And one of the chaps swore like a navvy.
I made him tell me what they looked like. One was a dark-eyed thin fellow with bushy eyebrows. The other was always smiling and lips in his talk. Neither was any kind of foreigner. On this my young friend was positive. I took a bit of paper and wrote words in German as if they were part of a letter.
Take this down and say it was found in my bedroom and ask them to return it to me if they overtake me.
Okay.
Blackstone, Scudder, had got onto this, but he could not act for a fortnight. I doubt if I can do any good now, especially as Carolize is uncertain about his plans. But if Mr. T advises, I will do the best.
Your paper woke them up. The dark fellow went as white as death and cursed like blazes. And the fat one whistled and looked ugly. They paid for their drinks with half a sovereign and wouldn't wait for change.
Now, I'll tell you what I want you to do. Get on your bicycle and go off to Newton Stewart to the chief constable. Describe the two men and say you suspect them of having had something to do with the London murder. You can invent reasons. The two will come back, never fear. Not tonight, for they'll follow me 40 miles along the road, but first thing tomorrow morning. Tell the police to be here bright and early.
He set off like a docile child while I worked at Scudder's notes. I had a sudden inspiration. Scudder had said Julia Shekhenyi was the key to the Carolize business, and it had occurred to me to try it on his cipher. It worked. The 5 letters of Julia gave me the position of the vowels. Shekhenyi gave me the numerals for the principal consonants. I scribbled that scheme on a bit of paper. In half an hour, I was reading with a whitish face and fingers that drummed on the table. Something happened. That evening we dined together. Out of the common decency, I had to let him pump me for information. I gave him a lot of stuff about lion hunts and the Matabele War, thinking all the while what tame businesses these were compared to this I was now engaged in. When he went to bed, again, I sat up. I had finished Scudder's book. Oh, that's awesome. A Pack of Lies. Having decoded Scudder's book, Hannay now has all the facts. If only he could remain hidden until the second week of June. Oh, that's cool. Alright guys, I'm going to have to end my video here. This has been really cool so far. It's been so cool, and I love the colorful scenery of Scotland. It was awesome. Anywho, if you like this video, please give this video a like, comment on this video on how I like the game so far, subscribe to the channel if you see more gaming videos like these. Alright, this has been Gamer. Peace out, and I'll definitely see you on the next episode of the third... Excuse me, I had a burp. Sorry. I will see you on the next episode of the 39 Steps. Bye everyone.